Hi everybody, it's Connor here again. I'm back in track 2. I've just sprinted over from track 1 because I really missed you. And we are at the Capital Conference hosted by CoinMarketCap. It's an interesting day, isn't it? Plenty of panels going on. And today, right now in this panel, we're going to talk about a multi-blockchain world. If you have questions, get in touch with us on Discord or post a comment in the YouTube channel, and I will read out those questions and hopefully get some answers at the end of the panel. But now let's introduce who we've got here with us today. So we've got Ahmed Al-Balaghi from Biconomy. He's the CEO there. Jan Liphardt, the founder and chief technologist at Boba, and Chen, VP of engineering at Harmony. Hello, everybody. How are we?
Hi. Very good.
Hey, Connor. All good, thanks.
Fantastic. Very good, thank you. Very good. It's great to see you all and hear you all. So here's what I like to do. I'd like you each to tell me about yourselves and your projects in 30 seconds. If you break any of these 2 rules, you have to give me a Bored Ape. So we'll start with Ahmed first.
No pressure. Hey, everyone. My name is Ahmed, as Connor said. I'm one of the co-founders at Biconomy, and at Biconomy, we are very much focused on making Web3 as frictionless and seamless as possible. So we've created middleware where we work with developers to abstract gas and to also abstract cross-chain complexity. So we're pretty much agnostic to any chain that we build on.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Really do appreciate that. Leo, over to you. Your time to shine.
Thank you. This is Chen. So I'm the VP engineering at Harmony. So Harmony, the layer 1 protocol, provide a fast and very scalable solution. So we use sharding technology so that we can horizontally scale. And we have the lowest transaction fee among all the layer 1 protocol. And we are EVM compatible. Thank you.
Brilliant. Loving your backdrop. The commute must be a nightmare getting all the way up there. Just got to say that. Jan, what about yourself?
Great to be here. I'm a professor at Stanford. I've been teaching a blockchain class since 2018 there, among other things. I care generally about topics such as privacy-preserving compute and questions relating to how people interact with the internet and what the trade-offs are between insight and privacy in these kind of systems. With respect to Boba Network, this is a compute-focused L2. So the goal there is to use the fact that we're a single sequencer to allow smart contracts to interact with any other computer. And we're doing this because we think it's important to make it easy to connect Web 2 to Web 3.
Mm-hmm. All of you did beautifully. None of you owe me a Bored Ape, I'm glad to say. So, Jan, let's stick with you then. Let's stick with you. And I guess my first question is, do we need multiple blockchains?
Absolutely. And they will be here to stay. And there will be more and more of them. If we think of a blockchain as a immutable database, then looking at other databases, we have every expectation that there will be hundreds of blockchains. And every blockchain, there are difficult architectural decisions to be made with respect to what you're optimizing for. Game-specific blockchains, low fee, some combination of the above. And just like for a normal database design, blockchains also have to be responsive to what the developers want. And every blockchain is going to be a combination of trade-offs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for that. Leo, Ahmed, do you have anything to add to that?
So I think multiple blockchain is a reality right now. And but I don't know how many blockchain will be there eventually. So in my mind, as a blockchain as a platform, so there could be some different alliance. So for example, currently we have a EVM compatible blockchain and layer 1, layer 2 as one alliance. There will be non-EVM compatible, and also there will be other like a weird VM or whatever. So to the developer and to the user, the different VM provide different paradigm in terms of the compute and the user habits. So eventually, the user won't feel the difference in the same alliance, but different alliance may provide a different capability and a different usage. That I feel just like in operating system. So we have Windows, we have Linux, and we have Mac OS. Those are the top three, right? So even in Linux, there are many different distributions over there, right? So, but to user, in terms of their program and usage, it's very similar. So I feel like in the multi-chain world, there will be different alliance will be there. Just I don't know how many will be totally a number of blockchains. So that's worth to say that.
Mm-hmm. Ahmed, what do you think?
We could be living in a world where there'll be like 1,000 rollups, right? I mean, like, you know how there are all these connections between, you know, like when you just think of the internet as well and how it sort of, you know, came about and everything. And, you know, it was such a big deal when one university could speak to another university, right? Like when you think of it from that lens, it's crazy now everyone could talk to each other on top of rails that are really invisible to us. And I feel like we're going to be seeing that, you know, as well going down the line in the sense where we're going to be seeing different types of chains utilized for, you know, various aspects, right? And again, the end user would not care like what's going on. Some will, and that's okay. But I definitely think we'll be moving to many blockchains purely because of the new paradigm it provides us.
Mm-hmm. And to use another kind of like internet analogy, we've got a lot of fragmentation, haven't we, with blockchains at the moment? It sometimes feel like if you have a Gmail account, it's like you can only email other Gmail accounts. You can't email a Yahoo or a Hotmail account and so on. So I guess my question, I'll ask this to Leo first. What needs to be done to make blockchains less fragmented? You know, is it too late to make sure that major networks can talk to each other?
That's a good question. So unfortunately, it's what's happening in the Web 2 world, right? So you have many different identities, many different accounts. So in the Web 3 world, there's it's also you have a multiple account. But seems like in the Web 3, if you use your private key, you can use one private key basically to be able to use on many different blockchains. So if we use that will be something we feel could be a universal. You just hold your one private key, and since there's a multiple account can be generated on different blockchain, but the one private key will be able to use it. So I would hope in the wallet or any like a portal technology. So as long as the user hold their unique private key, they will be able to use multiple blockchain and synthesis. That's something like a technology wise. I feel that's something we are evolving to.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Ahmed?
I really think we're, you know, it's so early that the design space for how blockchains could speak to each other is just so wide open. And so I mean, even for us, at least how we're thinking about it, at least at Biconomy, we are working within at least a cross-chain, like the cross-chain transfer space, so allowing end users to move funds from one chain to another very quickly and easily. That is a very simple use case. And we are exploring what other use cases when it comes to, you know, cross-chain contract calls. So it's, you know, how can you like incorporate multiple sort of actions into one transaction? So you send your funds and you do something else on the other chain, right? And this would require, like, in a way, development along with the industry, along with the dApps that are going multi-chain as well. And so I actually think we're very early, you know, and it's something that in terms of the design space is still so open and broad that it could really allow for different designs, right? Like we have the Cosmos ecosystem, we have the Polkadot, we have this whole EVM and non-EVM environment as well. And all these different linkages are still like very primitive.
And Jan, I'll bring you in here. Do you think that to an extent there'll always be some degree of fragmentation? What do you think about all of this?
Well, hopefully there will be fragmentation, because I think for a lot of us, the reason we're interested in distributed systems and blockchains is because it's very easy to invent and try things out. So it's an amazing area for someone in their basement to wake up in the morning and have an idea, and 2 or 3 weeks later have a test system up and running, which would be exceptionally difficult for them to do in another situation. So fragmentation and diversity is one of the core strengths of the whole ecosystem for innovation and many other purposes.
Perhaps a better phrase I should have used is silo, like if the blockchains are siloed rather than fragmented.
One thing so I could add, Connor, sorry, quickly,
go for it.
If you think about one clear analogy I'd like to also use here, given that we're all aware of it, is like, think of Skype, right? In order to use Skype, you need someone else using Skype so that you could speak to them. You need to, in a way, have a login at least. With Zoom, you just need to have an app. You just need to download the app, right? Like these things are also a bit different, where like one requires a network effect, the other doesn't really require a network effect per se. And so for other people to come in and use. And I wonder how, even in this context of this fragmentation, and I think Leo also mentioned wallets, how that will also play a role as well. I don't know. We're still figuring that out, but it's really interesting. I definitely agree with Jan. I think it's the only moment in history where people could spin up digital economies, at the click of a button, right? If they have an idea. Before, no one could do that.
Yeah, and you make a good point. But Leo, we'll start with you on this next question. If anybody can snap up their own digital economy at the click of a button, is the market going to be big enough for all of these blockchains to survive?
This is a challenging question. I will say that. So the market is not big enough for now, but for everyone in this industry, we believe eventually blockchain will take over the world. Like when internet was started 20 years ago, always trying to say it's so hard to use and so limited usage, but nobody can live without internet right now. So we always somehow underestimate the power of the long-term effect and the networking impact. So once you get into the rabbit hole of the blockchain, I think a lot of people want to leave unless you've been scammed or rug pull. Okay, you've been rug pull, you still want to stay, right? So I think that's something we feel like the power of the blockchain technology really unleash a new thinking and a new paradigm, especially we're talking about the owner and the creator economy. So that totally changed the entire business and entire industry going to work. So even though the market is not big enough, everyone in the industry believe that we building together and attract more people together, we eventually going to have a lot of opportunity for everyone.
And so Jan, expanding on this question, do you think we're going to see the amount of blockchains there are? Are we going to see constant expansion, or will there be a time where there's some consolidation, do you think?
Well, both of those things. So if you look at the internet today and you look at how normal people consume the internet, it's almost exclusively through sort of pinch points on Google, for example, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, a few other apps or sites. So that's certainly also going to be true for blockchains, where normal consumers are going to interact with those primarily through apps. But certainly from the perspective of people innovating and building increasingly purpose-specific blockchains, which is what I'm seeing here a lot of the students do, that trend will only continue. And a great example would be micro-containerized L2s that are game-specific, just as one example. But let's zoom out a level. The larger question you asked had to do with the sort of overall market size for blockchains. And of course, what brings a lot of us into this space is the notion of building, among other things, a global financial system which has attributes that we consider to be valuable, like accessibility and the ability to program currencies to achieve particular goals. Those could be things like climate change or something else. So I like to think that really what we're building, we're not trying to take market share away from like Bank of America. What we're really building here is a sort of fabric of a more modern, more secure, more accessible payment system, among other things. But of course, also a communication system and just platform for many other things. So insofar as in 2100, there's going to be 10.9 billion people, presumably they're all going to be interacting and transacting. And hopefully a lot of this will take place on blockchains.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Jan. Ahmed, your take on what's been said.
Yeah, I definitely agree with my fellow panelists. And although the market is small, I think it goes without saying, we're just seeing a really big shift in speed from the Web2 companies, whether they're tech, whether they're financial organizations, actually coming into Web3, very quickly. And if you think about it, you think about sort of the market, like right now, Web3 consists of what, let's say 0.1% of the world, or maybe a bit more. Let's say, let's say less than 1%, right? The market is a 99%. It does not comprise of the less than 1% that currently exists today. So it is going to be a matter of bringing in and really showcasing the benefits that blockchains have to offer to Web2, and they're seeing it right now. Like Robinhood has created their own wallet, Revolut has created their own wallet. I'm hearing some of the big banks are in a way going to do that as well. We're seeing some Web2 applications, they're ranked #1 on the App Store in their own categories. They're looking at how they could come into the space. And so for them to come in and explore, what's it to say that in the next 2 years, they say, hey, we'll create our own chain for our own ecosystem, right? Who knows, that could happen as well. So we need that. We need the rest of the world to come in. Otherwise, there is no market.
Mm-hmm. Going on a tangent now then, and one thing I'd like to ask you all, and I'll start with Leo first. Will Ethereum's long-awaited move to proof of stake, potentially, because of course we'll hopefully see greater levels of scalability, hopefully see transaction costs start to come down a bit. Do you think that will make layer 2 protocols, and maybe even some blockchains, obsolete?
Okay, so we move into proof of stake. Proof of stake itself is still early exploration of the entire consensus algorithm. So even though we see quite a lot of a new blockchain using proof of stake, even Harmony we use it's a proof of stake blockchain. For the entire history of the blockchain, POW still dominates the consensus algorithm, right? So I think the industry is still exploring that. So there are different advantage, pros and cons over POW and the proof of stake. So, but definitely proof of stake presents a different perspective about how the consensus will be reached. So we know that save the energy and also make it more efficient. That's the proof of stake. And so when we move to the proof of stake network, there will be a different challenge in the entire blockchain industry because of I think overall we haven't seen a huge amount of attack or only like a challenge on the proof of stake network. So specifically technology-wise, there haven't been experienced a huge attack and or only a challenge on those networks. So that's something like the entire industry still have to wait to be verified. So when you serve and to move to proof of stake, so right now it's still not being in production yet, right? So we still don't know what will be the challenge over there. But I believe that those challenge will be the industry and the researcher will try to solve those the problem. So I don't know the final answer yet, but I think that's it's an exploration and the different and on the technology path. We're trying a different technology in the longer term. We hope that something will work out.
Thank you very much, Leo. Ahmed, will Ethereum kill off the Ethereum killers?
Never. The world is too diverse. I think going back to Jan's point, right, on different designs, different ways of thinking, different communities as well, and so them going to proof of stake is just a great. It will be one of those sort of great moments where it's say, hey, like Ethereum is environmentally friendly. It's become green. Bitcoin is sort of the only sort of system that's relevant that is proof of work, which I guess is okay in my opinion at least. But to your question, I don't think so. I think that the ecosystem has in a way opened its eyes to the extent seeing that Ethereum has not just an ecosystem of applications, but an ecosystem of blockchains where there are different types of execution environments, and they're all built off and utilizing Ethereum security. And I think that is, to be honest, like Ethereum's really strong network effect and hold as well. So yeah, I just think it's going to be an addition and a benefit to the rest of the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And Jarl, I'll ask you now, I'll also throw in another thought. I mean, Ethereum's move from proof of work to proof of stake is hugely ambitious, and it'll be the biggest blockchain to have used this type of consensus mechanism. It's almost like completely gutting your house and redoing it while you're still living in it. So I'll ask you the same question that I've asked Leo and Ahmed, but also, is there a real risk that this could all blow up in Ethereum's face?
Well, Ethereum has shown itself to be incredibly thoughtful and patient, and the people at Ethereum are some of the smartest and best people there are, no question. And so, to the best of my understanding, they're moving towards proof of stake in an exceptionally thoughtful manner. I do have to say that there's one particular slide in my class that I haven't changed since 2018. And that slide is the pending move of Ethereum to proof of stake. I've been using the same slide in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. So I'm, of course, like everyone else on Earth, eagerly awaiting the shift. And I very much look forward to that. There's a question you asked earlier, which had to do with, will Ethereum kill off other chains? And that really depends on what those chains are offering. There's many different types of users. There's many different types of chains. And if you're running a chain that only emphasizes low cost, then you might well be in trouble. But generally, chains offer a variety of differentiators compared to your Ethereum. And if those are compelling to users, of course, those chains will do well regardless of what Ethereum is doing. There's a final consideration here, which has to do with major gaps in the entire ecosystem. And this has come up implicitly a few times in this panel. But as far as I can tell, the major gap here really has to do with cross-chain communications, which relates fundamentally with this notion of composability, where the entire ecosystem wants to get to is a situation where there are many blockchains, and we can play on those blockchains like we play the piano with multiple fingers. And we want to be able to do this in a low friction, quick and safe manner. And so part of what Ethereum is doing in terms of its architecture also not only makes contributions to things like proof of stake, but there is some very interesting thinking as it relates to the overall architecture, and this is a much larger conversation.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So I've got two more questions, and I'm going to try and get you, if you can, gents, to answer them in 30 seconds so we've got time to fit them in before we end up passing off to the next panel. The next question is, Has the Ronin hack affected confidence in bridges between blockchains? Ahmed, I'll ask you first.
Very, very good question. So yeah, we work a lot on the bridging side of things, and from the different applications that we work with, from the just the developers we speak to, the Ronin hack has definitely sort of sparked extra questions, extra doubts, extra thoughts from everyone, which makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, what's interesting to see is, at the end of the day, it needs for these hacks to happen so that people actually care about security, and care about these important points. And so I thought it would be really big, but it was only within the I'd say the crypto ecosystem. Whereas, for example, the Luna thing that happened, right? I was in a family event in the UAE, and an old 50-year-old person talked to me about Luna hack. I'm like, well, this has gone mainstream, but the Ronin hack,
definitely.
So that's how I sort of think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Leo. What do you think? 30 seconds if you can.
Yeah, I think I share the similar feeling. So blockchain is the open world, so only those hacks happen. People are put some of focus and thinking about the security and how for example, Luna, or how the stablecoin will be used, right, and how to create it, right? So so since blockchain is the open development and open world, so specifically all those sparks may be easily exploited by the hackers, right? So that's something like we think it will be good because you failed early, so that you won't fail when the company or the economy goes much bigger. That's even worse, right? So think about how many hacks happens in the Web 2 or on all the operating system or the website. That's way bigger than just ruling, right? So, but the people learn from that. And also in the blockchain, since it's the open world, the composability actually is important. The composability means like we don't have to build a closed system. So, and not every application need to build their blockchain. They can use the existing blockchain or roll up or the layer one to build on top of that. Like right now, since we know the scalability is the issue, right? How many we have the sharding topology, we can horizontally scale our network using different shards. So that we actually working with other like a game partner to say they can have their game built on specific shard. So instead of building their own chain, and also even Avalanche also doing like a subnet. So I think those kind of the things to say like you let the professional do their own profession. So we are specifically building the chain. So with or the application will work with the chain builder. So they don't have to. No one need to build everything from the layer one all the way to the application, right?
Thank you very much, Leo. Right, Jan, I'm afraid we're running out of time, but I'll give you the last word on a different question. And if you can answer in one sentence, I'd be very grateful. What do you think is the single most important thing to improve interoperability between blockchains?
In 3 seconds or less?
Yes.
There's no way to begin to answer that. But the hack, for example, and your question, I think they all point to needing to entirely rethink how we connect data, messages, value across many chains.
Thank you all very much, Ahmed, Jan, Leo. It's been a fascinating panel. Coming up next, virtual economies in the metaverse. You're on track 2 of the CoinMarketCap, the Capital Conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.